this is BAWLER. Hello, I have prepared an important and interesting video for you. Subscribe and write in the comments what you think about it. In the latest and perhaps one of the most significant developments of the ongoing conflict, Ukraine has successfully carried out a decisive, high-precision strike deep in the Donetsk region, eliminating one of the Russian military's top commanders on the front lines. This event is not only a tactical win, but also a major psychological blow to the Kremlin's military leadership, further destabilizing an already struggling command structure. According to an official statement released by the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on August 11th, Ukrainian forces targeted the command post of the 85th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade of the Russian Armed Forces. This strike resulted in the confirmed death of the brigade's commander, known by his call sign NEPA, along with 5 senior members of his operational staff. Ukrainian officials emphasized that the strike was carried out using a high-precision weapon system, though the specific type of weapon used has not been disclosed for operational security reasons. While the exact coordinates of the strike were not officially revealed, detailed conflict maps and verified OSINT sources indicate that the 85th Brigade has been operating near the small abandoned settlement of Klitschivka. This settlement lies just to the east of the strategically significant city of Konstantinovka, which intelligence analysts believe is one of the next primary targets for Russian offensive operations. The removal of a senior commanding officer from this sector carries immense battlefield implications. Leadership plays a critical role in maintaining order, morale, and operational efficiency within a military unit. Without experienced commanders to coordinate attacks, manage logistics, and make rapid, informed decisions under pressure, Russian forces in this sector are far more likely to make critical mistakes, act recklessly, and suffer greater casualties. This is particularly problematic for Russia at this stage of the war, as it has already suffered catastrophic losses in both personnel and leadership over the past 2.5 years. Many replacements for fallen commanders are younger and far less experienced, often lacking the authority, strategic acumen, and respect that their predecessors commanded. As a result, newly appointed officers frequently struggle to maintain discipline, plan complex operations, or adapt effectively to Ukraine's fast-changing and highly dynamic defensive tactics. This latest loss for the Kremlin comes in the middle of its massive summer offensive, during which Russia has poured unprecedented numbers of troops and equipment into the battlefield in an attempt to seize as much Ukrainian territory as possible before potential ceasefire negotiations. Despite committing colossal resources and launching record-setting numbers of drone strikes on Ukrainian cities and towns, Russia has made only marginal territorial gains. It continues to lose staggering quantities of soldiers, armored vehicles, artillery pieces, and aircraft to Ukraine's well-planned precision strikes, both on the front line and deep behind Russian-controlled territory. The situation has been particularly chaotic in the Pokrovsk sector, an area of immense strategic value. Pokrovsk, before the war, was home to more than 60,000 residents and served as a critical transportation hub for the Donetsk region, with vital road and rail connections linking it to surrounding towns and cities. Control of Pokrovsk would allow Russia to severely disrupt Ukrainian supply chains, limit the flow of reinforcements to critical areas such as Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, and potentially serve as a launch point for further operations into the Dnipropetrovsk region. Acknowledging this, Ukraine has fiercely defended the city, while Russia has deployed an estimated 111,000 troops to the sector, according to Ukraine's Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky. In just one reporting period, Russian forces made 35 attempts to dislodge Ukrainian defenders in this area, more than double the number of attacks recorded in other hotspots along the front, such as Kursk, Slobozhansk, and Kupiansk. Despite Russia's numerical superiority, Ukrainian defenders have inflicted severe losses on the attacking forces. Official reports state that in recent engagements alone, Ukrainian forces eliminated 64 Russian soldiers, wounded 38 more, destroyed 21 enemy drones, 1 communications antenna, and multiple vehicles, including motorcycles and an automotive unit. However, the Kremlin persists in its strategy of sending small, poorly supported assault groups into fortified urban areas, often without any armored backing. This reluctance to deploy tanks and armored personnel carriers stems from the staggering losses Russia has already suffered. Thousands of armored units destroyed by Ukraine's anti-tank missiles, artillery, mines, and drones. These light, infantry-based assaults have become so desperate that Russian troops are increasingly resorting to unusual and risky tactics, such as wearing civilian clothing or even donning stolen Ukrainian military uniforms to infiltrate urban areas undetected. Ukrainian Deputy Commander Ilya Petrina confirmed that his troops have found discarded Russian uniforms in areas where disguised Russian soldiers were operating. He also revealed that intercepted enemy radio communications have captured Russian troops openly discussing plans to use disguises in the hopes of blending in. Despite these efforts, such tactics have yielded little success, as Ukrainian forces remain vigilant and well prepared to identify and neutralize infiltrators. In recent weeks, analysts and live battlefield tracking maps have observed unusual Russian troop movements to the north and west of Pokrovsk, involving units from the 5th, 9th, 110th, and 132nd Separate Motorized Rifle Brigades. These forces have made minor gains in capturing small settlements east of the city of Dobropila, possibly in an attempt to encircle Pokrovsk by cutting off Ukrainian supply lines and reinforcements before launching a major assault. Yet Ukrainian commanders, including Lieutenant Colonel Viktor Trehubov, report that these so-called breakthroughs are largely exaggerated by Russian propaganda. In reality, small infiltration groups that bypass Ukrainian positions are quickly detected, isolated, and destroyed before they can cause significant damage. President Volodymyr Zelensky has framed Russia's intensified operations in the Pokrovsk and Dobropila sectors as a calculated political move ahead of the upcoming Alaska 2025 Russia-US summit, where Vladimir Putin is scheduled to meet with US President Donald Trump. Zelensky has stated that Moscow's goal is to create an information background that suggests Russian forces are advancing and Ukraine is losing territory, thereby strengthening Putin's negotiating position. In public addresses and meetings with European leaders, Zelensky has stressed that Ukraine must be directly involved in any peace negotiations, laying out non-negotiable conditions for a ceasefire, robust and enforceable security guarantees for Ukraine, assurances that Russia cannot block Ukraine's integration into NATO or the European Union, and the imposition of stronger sanctions if Russia refuses to end hostilities. Trump, for his part, has signaled that he will press Putin for meaningful commitments at the Alaska meeting, and has warned of very severe consequences for Russia if it refuses to agree to a ceasefire. He has also stated that the continuation of negotiations will depend entirely on Putin's willingness to provide satisfactory answers and take tangible steps toward peace. Meanwhile, Russia's actions on the battlefield tell a different story, one of escalation rather than de-escalation. Civilian casualties have reached record highs in recent months, with over 6,000 drone attacks recorded in July alone, causing hundreds of deaths and more than 1,000 injuries across 18 of Ukraine's 24 regions. UN officials have condemned the Kremlin's conduct, noting that only the first 3 months of the full-scale invasion saw more civilian deaths and injuries. Danielle Bell, head of the UN Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, described the casualty figures as harrowing and a clear demonstration of the Russian leadership's cold-blooded pursuit of its goals, regardless of human cost. Despite the immense suffering inflicted, Ukraine continues to defend its territory, preventing Russia from achieving the decisive victories it needs to shift the balance of the war. At present, the war remains in a bloody stalemate. Putin has not gained the kind of leverage he would need to dictate terms in upcoming negotiations, and if talks with Trump fail, the Kremlin could face even harsher consequences from a united international coalition. As events unfold, the world watches closely, hoping for a breakthrough that could finally bring an end to the conflict, but prepared for the grim reality that Russia's current battlefield strategy shows no signs of changing.